What does Revelation mean by Babylon? Well, it's said to be the city on seven hills in 17:9. And everybody in antiquity, if you don't believe me, just start reading through ancient Roman literature. It's all over the place. The city on seven hills was Rome. In fact, there was an annual festival in Rome commemorating its founding called the Septimontium, the Seven Mountains. It was also said to be in 1718 the city that ruled over the kings of the earth. Now, actually, that would have been news to the Parthians or the Nubians or the Germans or some other people, certainly the Chinese and people in India. But in terms of in the Roman Empire, the city that rules over the other kings of the earth, the seven churches in Asia Minor, as far as they're concerned, well, Rome called itself the ruler over other kings. And so that was the city that best fit that. It was also the mercantile power that traded in exactly the merchandise that's listed in chapter 18, verses 12 and 13. Perhaps more to the point, Rome oppressed Israel the way Babylon did, and even destroyed the temple the way that Babylon had. In fact, since the time of Daniel, people had thought about four kingdoms. The first kingdom was Babylon the Great, and after that there was a succession of empires. In the first century, the fourth empire, the final empire before the coming of the Son of Man, in the interpretation of the book of Daniel, was understood as Rome. And so, naturally, in Jewish sources of this period, Rome was portrayed as a new Babylon. And probably 1 Peter 5:13, a Christian document, also speaks of Rome as Babylon. If Peter were writing from literal Babylon, that would be a bit more complicated. But lest we think that Rome was the only Babylon, if there could be a new Babylon, there could also be a new Rome. Throughout history, all evil empires have fallen and now lie in the dust. Antichrists rise and fall, but the ultimate future does not belong to them. In John's day, Rome was the mightiest empire that his part of the world had ever known, and it seemed poised to crush the tiny church of God. And yet, in chapter 18, verses 2 and 3, John hears a funeral dirge. Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great. This exiled prophet on the island of Patmos has the audacity to report a funeral dirge over this mighty empire. And yet Rome fell a millennium and a half ago, while the church of God continues to grow and spread, and as Revelation said, among every people and tribe, nation and language. John was a prophet indeed. Revelation actually includes a tale of two cities. Babylon the prostitute in Revelation 17 and 18, decked with gold and pearls. New Jerusalem, not portrayed as a prostitute, but rather as a bride, the epitomization of the contrast of a prostitute, a bride adorned for her husband, and not merely decked out with gold and pearls, but the streets are gold, the city is made of gold, the gates are of pearls. All of it is the gift of God. Revelation is, in a sense, a tale of two cities. The contrast between Babylon, for which many people live, the cheap gratification of this world, as opposed to those who live for the New Jerusalem, for the promise of the world to come. It takes faith to wait to be the bride of the Lamb, but it's worth the wait if we really believe that what God has promised is the truth.